Today, we're looking at 3 popular credit cards at 3 different annual fees to find out which one is most worth it. Yes, they all have annual fees, but these are the type of cards that will shower you with hundreds of dollars in credits, sometimes more than the annual fees, earn you points that are valued more than your typical cashback card, and give you protections against a wide variety of everyday things like purchases, travel, and renting cars. And so the 3 cards we'll be talking about today include the Capital One Venture X card, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and the American Express Platinum card. We'll also assume that you're a person that has a decent and sustainable spend month to month, as well as someone who travels at least a couple times a year. And that's because although these cards allow you to redeem their points and miles against cash back, gift cards, or other means, they're usually not worth it. Because on the Capital One Venture X card, you're gonna get 0.5 cents per point when you redeem for cashback, or 1 cent per point when redeemed for travel purchases. The American Express Platinum card will give you 0.6 cents per point for cashback, with 1 cent per point if you redeem for flights through the portal, and then finally 1 cent per point for cashback, or 1.5 cents per point for travel booked through the Chase portal with the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Now, if you primarily are going for cashback or don't want to put in all the work to find optimal value, then the Chase Sapphire Reserve will probably be near the top of your list. However, if you're talking about getting max value or transferring to travel partners, then all 3 programs have a wide range of different partners to transfer to, where you can likely get an average of about 2 cents per point in value. And so when we're making comparisons throughout this video, we're going to be using that 2 cents per point value across all 3 of the programs. So to kick it all off, let's start with the welcome bonus, where for most cards out there, this is where you're getting the bulk of the value, especially in terms of return on your spend. First, on the Venture X, you're going to get 75,000 miles after you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months. At 2 cents per point, that welcome bonus is worth $1,500, giving you a return on spend of 37.5%. When the card first came out, it had a 100,000 mile bonus for a $10,000 in spend, but that hasn't come back, so we won't consider that option here. Then on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you're going to get a baseline of 60,000 points after $4,000 of spend in the first 3 months. Again, at 2 cents per point, that's a value of about $1,200, which will give you 30% return on your spend. However, throughout the last few years, there's been several times where there's an elevated offer of 80,000 points for the same amount of spend, giving you a return on spend of 40%. Either way, it's still within the ballpark of the Venture X. Now, the special card here is the American Express Platinum card, where you'll get 80,000 points when you hit a $6,000 minimum spend over the first 6 months, so double the time compared to the other 2 cards. At a baseline that's valued at $1,600, which would give you a return on spend of 26.7%, although over a longer time horizon. However, the Platinum card usually has a much higher welcome bonus, with a pretty common offer out there being 150,000 points for the same minimum spend. That would put the welcome bonus at a whopping $3,000 in value, giving you a 50% return on spend. So in the welcome bonus category, I'm gonna give the American Express Platinum card the win here. Yes, the baseline return is lower than the rest, but you get a much longer time horizon to hit that spend. And given the elevated offers are seemingly easy to come by, it really does beat out the other 2 cards in terms of value for the welcome bonus. One thing to note is that these bonuses are actually once in a lifetime for the American Express Platinum card, meaning once you get it, you can never get it again. And so I would recommend holding off on any American Express cards until you have any all-time high offers like 150,000, compared to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, where the fine print says that you're eligible for another Sapphire bonus after 48 months. And I couldn't find anything explicitly stated on the Venture X side. In the order from lowest to highest, the Capital One Venture X comes in at $395, the Chase Sapphire Reserve comes in at $550, $250, and the American Express Platinum card comes in at $695. I think Capital One really hit a home run with the Venture X based on the price point they placed this card at. Because not only did they undercut two of the most popular premium cards at the time, they also delivered a great product with two relatively easy to use perks that help you offset the annual fee. So with that said, the obvious winner here for annual fees has to be the Capital One Venture X. But speaking of annual fees, we gotta look at the credits that each of these cards provides. Now, of course, if you use 80 to 100% of all the credits available on any of these cards, then you're basically gonna come out ahead no matter which choice you make. And that's why it's really hard to have a clear winner here, because everyone's spending habits and lifestyles are different, so a case-by-case basis. That said, if we take a look at the Venture X, not only does it have the lowest annual fee, but it also has the simplest credits that I think most can use. And that would be a yearly $300 credit towards travel booked through their portal and 10,000 miles every anniversary year, valued at a minimum of $100 for travel. That means between the two credits, you're getting $400 in value every year, which more than offsets the $395 in annual fees, making it so you're effectively getting paid $5 a year to keep the card open. And if we value those 10,000 miles at 2 cents per mile, then you're in the positive of over $100 every year just from two simple to use credits. And speaking of simplicity, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is not bad either, because you're gonna get a $300 credit for travel, but it's a reimbursement for travel purchases charged to your card, be it flights, hotels, bus rides, or Uber rides. That means this one credit alone brings the annual fee down to an effective $250. Now that's all for major credits on the Reserve card, but it does have several partner benefits that can provide a lot of value. More specifically, Dash Pass valued at $10 and a $5 credit every month, $10 a month to GoPuff, and $15 a month in Instacart credit. If you end up using all of these credits and value them at max value, that's $480 every year of value, which more than offsets the remaining $250 in effective annual fee. However, I'd imagine that most people won't max out all of these benefits, so even if you value them at half, so $240, that still more or less offsets the $250 in annual fee, putting you at an effective $10 a year. Now comes the Amex Platinum, again the special one of the bunch. This card has a long list of benefits ranging from hotel and digital entertainment to Uber Cash to niche ones like Equinox and Saks Fifth Avenue, all of which American Express values at over $1,500. But even more so than the Chase cards, I believe almost no one uses anywhere near the maximum amount of credits on this card. So even if you cut it in half, so $750, that still more or less covers the $695 in annual fees. So like I mentioned earlier, it's really hard to choose a winner here between simple to use credits or higher value credits but are harder to use, which means this category about credits, I'd have to call it a tie. Alright, so on to spending with the different cards. Now, sometimes people get cards solely for the perks and benefits and rarely spend on the card, which, spoiler, is what I do with my American Express Platinum card. And that's totally fine. You could and should have different cards for different reasons. But even if you do spend on the card a lot, just know that a 1 point or mile difference for any of the categories may not actually mean that big of a difference, especially compared to welcome bonuses or other credits on the card. That said, if we look at the Venture X, the theme of simplicity is here as well, giving you 10 times miles when you're booking hotels and car rentals, with 5 times miles on flights, all booked through the portal, as well as 2 times miles on everything else. That's all. And this is the only card out of the 3 that offers a 2 times miles or points on the everything else category, which at a 2 cents per point value can be considered a 4% cashback. at least when used for travel. Then when we look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it's like the opposite of simplicity. With a similar 10 times on hotels and car rentals with 5 times on flights when booked through the portal, but also giving you 3 times on general travel, 10 times on Chase dining, 3 times on other dining, and 1 times on everything else. So essentially lower earning from the everything else category, but you'll get elevated earning in some common categories like general travel and dining. A pretty decent trade-off in my opinion. And then when we look at the American Express Platinum card, you'll get 5 times on flights when booked through the portal or direct with the airline, 5 times on prepaid hotels, and 1 times on everything else. Personally, I think this is the weakest of the bunch unless you book a ton with the airlines directly, but even then, I don't think there's a big difference in prices between airlines directly and these travel portals. And so for this category, for earning multipliers, I'll have to give it to both the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Venture X, because they have a pretty well-rounded setup, either giving you more points for certain categories or a higher floor giving you 2 times on all spend. Okay, lounge access. What's a premium card without lounge access to help you escape the loud and crowded airports, give you free food and drinks, and just a nice place to relax? Fortunately, all 3 of these cards give you that experience to some degree. First, on the Venture X, having this card will give you access to both Priority Pass lounges as well as access to Plaza Premium network of lounges too, both for you and up to 2 guests. What's more is that additional card holders as part of the Venture X are free to add, so all those users will also get access to these lounges for themselves and 2 additional guests. Meaning if you're in 2-player mode and you both have a version of the card, you can bring up to 4 additional people with you into these lounges. And Capital One is kicking off their own network of lounges too, with the first one being in Dallas Fort Worth and more coming soon. Another thing to note is that the Priority Pass on the Venture X does not come with non-lounge perks like restaurants, which is something that comes with the Priority Pass as part of the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Now, Priority Pass is the only network of lounges you get as part of the Chase side, but Chase is also kicking off their own version of lounges, with the first one being in Hong Kong and more of them coming in 2023. And then we have the American Express Platinum card that has the most lounge partners as well as the largest network of their own lounges, the Centurion Lounge, with partners like Delta Sky Club whenever you fly with Delta, Airspace, Plaza Premium, Lufthansa, and Priority Pass. That's more than the 2 other cards on this list. Even their own Centurion lounges span over 40 locations worldwide, although they're cutting guest access to these lounges starting February of this year. But in either case, and in my opinion, the American Express Platinum card clearly takes the win here with the widest selection of lounges by far. And speaking of travel, what about elite statuses? From car rental upgrades to room upgrades and other hotel perks, they can really level up your travel experience wherever you go. First, on the Venture X, you're going to get Hertz President Circle, which is their top of the line status that offers you perks like guaranteed upgrade, higher points, and the widest selection of cards. You'll also be able to status match over to other car rental companies like getting National Executive Elite, which will give you 1 free day every 5 rental days. Then if we take a look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve, unfortunately there are no elite status benefits with the card, which in my opinion is the weak point of it. They did temporarily offer Marriott Gold for a few months in 2022, but unfortunately that's not a permanent perk. But just like with lounge access, the American Express Platinum card shines in this category as well, not only giving you Hertz President Circle like the Venture X, but also giving you Marriott and Hilton Gold, which can be decent for perks and upgrades in the US, but really shine when you go international where most people don't have these types of cards. The clear winner here, the American Express Platinum card. Now the next category of points that are often overlooked but can really back you up in case anything goes wrong, and that would be travel and purchase protections. All 3 of these cards have very similar benefits, from car rental insurance, trip delay and cancellation, lost luggage, as well as purchase protection. extended warranty, and return protection. But there are very slight nuances to highlight here. First off, the American Express Platinum card only has secondary car rental insurance compared to primary on the Venture X and the Chase Sapphire Reserve, meaning you won't be able to just flat out deny the coverage they offer you from the car rental companies, which could save you $20 to $30 every day. Second, the Chase Sapphire Reserve often has higher limits on a lot of the benefits, like giving you 120 days instead of 90 days on purchase protection, as well as a higher limit of $500 per item compared to $300 on the return protection perk. Personally, return protection has been my most used perk, given I can shop at ease, knowing I can likely get credit for the item if the retailer doesn't take it back due to final sales or some really strict return policies. That said, and with a small margin, I think the Chase Sapphire Reserve takes the win here. Alright, so with so many perks and benefits, there's bound to be times where you have to actually talk to people at the company to try to resolve any issues. And so customer service is definitely an important factor to consider as well. With Capital One, it seems like you have to call in to get things resolved. And sometimes even if you call in and the customer service line is open, some specific department is not. I had this experience a few days ago when I called in, only to find out that the rewards department has been closed for the day. So I had to call in again the next day. Then with Chase, you can call, but you could also try resolving your issues through secure messaging through their online platform, but can take anywhere from 2 to 3 days for a response. But American Express really takes the win here, because 9 out of 10 times, you're able to resolve any issues through their live chat with a real human. From questions about credits to weird charges to trying to justify the cost of the card, I've been able to resolve all of these issues with ease through the live chat platform. I mean, who actually wants to talk to someone on the phone these days anyways? And so with all of those major categories, the card that got the most points is the American Express Platinum card. It's the most feature-packed card that's an awesome staple in anyone's wallet that travels a lot or is able to leverage all the credits on their card, which is an important piece. Because everyone's lifestyle and spending habits are very different, which can really skew the winners of each of these categories. For example, if you use none of the credits on the Platinum card, then of course it makes no sense at all, and a more simple card with easier to use credits like the Venture X could be your cup of tea. Or maybe you travel a ton and really like certain hotels like World of Hyatt. Then you might consider the Chase Sapphire Reserve because World of Hyatt is a Chase travel partner. On the other hand, you could also zoom out and take a wider look at all the cards that the 3 different companies offer. Given you're able to transfer these points and miles across different cards within these ecosystems to really supercharge the value you get from all your spend. Like using the Capital One bifecta in this video or the famous Chase trifecta in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there.